Well, howdy, friends of the interwebs. So, thought I'd show you where I am with my little gravel touring bikepacking conversion project. If you had a chance to see a previous video, I showed the bike in its original state as purchased. This is a new GT Grade Elite, the aluminum version, and I'm not gonna repeat the whole previous setup, but obviously converting it from drop bars to flat bars with those uh, extremely wide bull horns. They're more like deer horns, I reckon, but actually surprisingly comfortable. The first kind of little shakedown rides that I've been doing. And the other major change is changing it from the 2x Claris setup that it came with to this Microshift Advent X 1x system. Now here, this is the original crank, which is this rather cheap FSA 2x crank. It was 48 by 32, so obviously I removed the 48 template, kept the crank with 32 cog, and I'm running it with this Advent X cassette, which is 11 to 48, which gives you adequate, I guess, ratios for doing some climbing with extra gear and weight. And as far as I can tell, I mean, when you're running on the three higher cogs there, gears, I mean, you're spinning like a hamster. So, and climbing with this kind of bare bones, without any bags and load, is actually a breeze. So, I think to start with, this is a good gearing setup. Advent X had previous experience with it. This is the first time I'm installing it on a flat bar with a trigger shifter, which is working out great, to be honest. But it's excellent. This thing, I gotta tell you, if you're looking for probably any kind of budget, I guess, group set, you gotta look at this Microshift, products, because they are excellent. Excellent for the money and excellent, period. Um, so yeah, a lot to get used to with this type of setup compared to um, a road bike, straight on road bike, which is what I'm used to. The sitting position is very upright, uh, almost totally upright, which is what I was trying to obviously achieve with this bar, being further back with this little stubby stem, etc. And there's this I don't know, 6 degrees, I guess, rise, or maybe more, in the bars, so it's obviously further back and higher up, and that, together with the relatively relaxed geometry of this gravel bike to start with, gives you a pretty straight up position. So should be, it's really necessary if you're going to do a bunch of miles touring. Really, touring slash bikepacking is really what I'm mostly planning. I'm going to spend probably most of my time on roads, and kind of fire roads, gravel roads, with this bike. Nothing too dirt oriented. It's really a touring thing that I'm trying to put together here. So the posture, definitely a whole new game plan for me. I gotta get used to that. This seat is the original seat that came with it definitely has to go. This is a piece of shit. After like 45 minutes, my ass is starting to make itself noticed, which is not good. So this is gonna go. See what we get instead of that. The original tires, I think they are fit for purpose. So there are the WTB's Riddlers 37 by 700. It's very strange when you're riding this bike. Although obviously this is standard road bike size wheels, the whole thing feels bigger. For some reason, it feels like you're on a bike with bigger wheels. Not sure why that is, but I'm sure it's gonna go away as I settle and gonna get used to this puppy. Lots of connection points on the frame, as you can imagine, here and there, and on the carbon fork, and I think here, all the way down here on these cable clippers. I don't see why you can't attach more stuff, which is what I'm planning to do. So started ordering some kit for it. Got restrap saddle bag, just a kind of a medium-sized one to start with. See how that goes. Got some aluminum little clamps which I can attach to these points, and then I have, I reckon, a bit of freedom in figuring out what is it that I want to attach to them, as opposed to committing to, you know, water bottle holder or anything of that sort. So I reckon keeping it flexible is the way to go. And then, you know, later on I'm gonna start getting the rest of the gear, like a frame bag and this and that. We'll see. Change the pedal on them with these dual purpose Walgo pedals, so you can hook up and ride them with any type of shoe, really, which I think is actually more important than people think, especially for someone like me going hardly done any road, dirt riding. So you got to build your confidence, I guess, and I'd rather do it with, you know, riding, spending some time on this side of the pedal rather than hooking up, which is what I'm used to do on the road. But then finding out that I want to get my feet off the pedals faster than I usually do. So let's see what else. Mechanical disc brakes, pt2s, which I kept. They seem actually surprisingly fine. I think also a bit of a new thing for me is that, I don't know, I think you can exert more braking power with, you know, these types of levers rather than the drop bar levers, which I usually, you know, apply from the top, because this is where I spend most of my time, on the drop bars on top rather than on the bottom. I guess on the bottom you can apply even more braking force, but this is proving, you know, these Tektros, what have you, seem perfectly fine. They're not squealing, they're not making funny noises, they have good power, decent modulation, so I think I'm going to keep them. Mechanical, definitely, I think the way to go with this type of setup. You know, things go wrong, do a quick cable change, this, that, adjusting it. I want to fuck around with hydraulics and all that nonsense. And again, for the super relaxed touring, bikepacking thing that I'm planning to do here, you know, you don't need hydraulic power and modulation, all that nonsense. Yeah, so this is kind of where this little project is. I did also order, although initially I was like, yeah, I'm gonna keep this crank, and it has like a BSA, you know, square tapered, old-fashioned bottom bracket on it, which I guess is probably a good thing because those things are nicely sealed, etc. But I don't like this crank.
It looks looks decent enough, but I think there's a lot of weight here to take out, and also it doesn't feel that it's perfectly happy here. And I think the chain drop potential is, although I put this little thingy to help keep it in place, is not great. So I've ordered, I think it's a Shimano XT 1 by crank. Is it XT or Dior? One of the two, I don't remember. With the same cog size, which I think is, as I said, fit for purpose. And I'm going to replace these, slightly massive, misplaced cranks, I think. The grade itself is pretty awesome. I mean, obviously everyone likes carbon, and there's a fantastic carbon version of this bike. But honestly, I didn't want to spend the money, and also I think with the amount of weight and kind of abuse, I guess, that this bike is going to take, I think aluminum is probably the better way to go anyway. Just tougher, get a ding and keep going, rather than the perils of carbon, right? Cracking it, breaking it, and all that shit. So, that's pretty much it. Cheerio.